Alex Hormozi's $100 million philosophy might just be the most practical playbook for scaling your e-commerce brand this decade, but most founders completely misunderstand it. They're too focused on the tactics, the ads, the funnels, the creatives, where in reality, the lessons really are on systems, leverage, and choosing the right opportunities. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 key lessons from Alex Hormozi's philosophy that every e-commerce founder should be following if they want to scale to 6-figure months and beyond. So we're not just summarizing his books here, but why should you listen to me when it comes to breaking down Hormozi's content for e-commerce brands? Well, I built my own e-commerce brand to £1.5 million in revenue, which is just over $2 million. And I've helped founders break through the 100K a month barrier by building the systems and embedding a team to run the business independently of them. So when I break down Hormozi's content and his books, I'm doing that through the lens of my own experience, so I know how we can apply Hormozi's lessons into our own e-commerce brands. So the first lesson that I want to share from Alex Hormozi's philosophy is that we need to play the right game. So listen to what he has to say.
I talk a lot about leverage, so difference between what you put in and what you get out. And there are a few things that give greater leverage than the opportunity vehicle that you're pursuing. Because the biggest thing when I was starting out was that I just didn't understand any of this stuff. And just like how much leverage you can get on opportunity. Just stating that fact outright really does shift your behavior into like what opportunity could I put the same 5 years into and it could result in $100 million or $1 billion or $10 billion. And then just being ruthlessly selective about those things. And I think that from an entrepreneurship perspective, what really happens, like the rich get richer, sure, because they get smarter, but I think a lot of it is because what they choose to not pursue.
So this is one of the most important ideas in Alex Hormozi's entire philosophy, and that's that your opportunity determines your ceiling of success. Now, I think many e-commerce founders believe that scaling really is all about better ads, better creatives, better funnels, and you wake up every morning thinking about marketing. But Hormozi's point goes deeper than that. Sometimes the problem isn't execution. Sometimes the bigger problem is actually the game that you're playing. Now, in e-commerce, that usually shows up as trying to sell low-margin products or choosing saturated niches or competing purely on price. And it's like building brands with no differentiation. And ultimately, you can work 80 hours a week, but if you're working on the wrong opportunity in the first place, you're still going to struggle to scale. But if you choose the right vehicle, if you focus on the right things, if you're making sure you've got strong margin, clear positioning, and having repeat customers, then the same effort, just into a different opportunity, is going to provide 10x the results. And that is leverage, which is crucial to Hormozi's entire philosophy. Now, once you've chosen the right opportunity, the next thing that Alex Hormozi emphasizes is actually the standards that you operate at. And I've seen this from e-commerce brands. If they have low standards, if they tolerate mediocrity, then they're destined to fail. So have a listen to what Alex Hormozi's lesson is here.
You have to trust you in terms of your bar for excellence. The most successful people I know have the lowest tolerance for mediocrity. And I think that you just have to have that for you.
So it's concise, but very clear. And clearly, Hormozi there is explaining how elite companies operate when they just reject average and they refuse to have average creatives or average fulfillment or average customer service in an e-commerce sense. And what he's teaching us as brand owners is that if we have poor standards when it comes to customer service, then that leads to bad reviews. And then if you've got bad reviews, that's going to lower your conversions. And then having lower conversions is going to increase your ad costs. And suddenly your growth is going to stall. So it all comes back to not tolerating mediocrity, because businesses, if they tolerate mediocrity, they're not going to survive long. Having high standards in e-commerce means that we're going to have fast response times to our customers, reliable fulfillment, clear processes, constant improvement, having the right attitude for your team to be part of a culture that celebrates having high standards. And then it becomes the baseline standard of your company. But standards alone are not going to scale a business. There is more to Hormozi's philosophy with those two foundations in place. We need to make sure that we don't make a big mistake that Hormozi explains that he sees a lot. And that's that brands are optimizing too much for speed instead of for scale, which leads us nicely into the third lesson that Hormozi likes to teach in a lot of his content. Let's listen to that clip.
A lot of guys will mess it up where they have a product, they learn something about marketing and sales, they make more money. And the problem is that they then associate marketing and sales with the only way that they're going to make more money. But they quickly hit a plateau and then they're like, I don't know what to do now. And the reality is sometimes you have to take 5 steps back, fix the product so that when you do add the gas to it, more people find out about your good stuff, not about your mediocre or shitty stuff.
Now, this has got to be one of the most underrated lessons, I think, that goes under the radar. Because if you look out there, we're going to be bombarded every single day with different marketing advice when it comes to our brand. but it's only going to get us so far if we're focused on marketing. But beyond that, we must have a product, and also for e-commerce, the wider customer experience in terms of the fulfillment, the delivery process, that gets our customers to come back again and again. Therefore, we need to think about our brand differently, other than just marketing and conversion rate, if we're going to be scaling something large. And Hormozi has a great method of teaching this.
This exercise that I love, that we took some companies through, which was we had them divide up into teams and of 10, or no, sorry, we had them divide up into teams of like 4, and we give them 10 minutes to create a pasta tower, right? They get like a piece of paper, like duct tape or marshmallow, and like a pound of pasta. And then at the 10-minute mark, you stop it. And so it's a really interesting exercise because you then ask questions about it. So you say, okay, who could have done this better, right? And everyone says, okay, if we'd given you a full day to think about it, do you think you'd come up with a better one? Yes. Okay. Instead of 10 minutes, we've given you 10 days. Do you think you'd build a taller tower? Yes. Okay. Now, everybody has their current tower that's shitty, straight line up. Say, okay, if I need you to 10x this tower, could you do it? And the answer most of the time is no. It's because the fastest way to build a pasta tower in 10 minutes is not the fastest way to build a pasta tower that's 10 stories. And so a lot of times people build their businesses that way, is that they're trying to hit a goal as fast as humanly possible, but in so doing, prevent themselves from hitting a much larger goal later.
So clearly, the fastest way to build something is oftentimes not the thing that scales long term. Instead, if we focus on building something that has the ability to scale long term, then we'll see a much higher graph. We reach a higher pinnacle with our business if we're able to wait and put something in place that allows us scale in the first place. For e-commerce, that means we need to have documented customer service workflows. We need to have fulfillment processes that work without you as the founder getting involved. We need structured ad testing cycles. We need dashboards for key metrics. We need clear team roles and responsibilities. With those systems in place for your business that doesn't rely on you, growth is going to become predictable over the long term because we put the foundations in place. And more importantly, you as the founder cannot be the bottleneck if it's systems running the business rather than you. That's exactly what I did with my brand that allowed me to step back from the day-to-day operations. So instead of me just swanning around on a beach, what I was actually doing every day was focusing on the things that really grow the business. So I think as brand owners, when we first get started, we're so excited and we are actually doing all of the things we need to do to grow a brand and build it from the ground up. But somewhere along the line, we get busy and there's busy work that comes in, all the day-to-day operations that keep us busy every day. And we get to the end of the day and realize we've not actually done anything to move the business forward. We're just running around in a hamster wheel. So we have to put the systems in place that allow us to take a step back and have systems run the business or other people so that we can focus again on what's actually going to scale the brand. But systems alone don't create super strong brands. The real power of a great e-commerce company is built on trust, which is exactly what Hormozi talks about in the fourth lesson I want to share with you today. It's how to make your brand inevitable.
Brand only really influences one of those, which is just the perceived likelihood of achievement. So people will buy a brand because they've been rewarded from that brand in the past. And then the product will reinforce the cycle of the brand or deteriorate it. Let's say the first time you ever go to Chipotle, you get a bad bowl, but you don't know it's a bad bowl because you've never had Chipotle before, then maybe you'll never go to Chipotle again. But if you've had 20 good bowls and you have one bad bowl, they've probably bought enough goodwill from you to get a 21st bowl.
This was a huge insight for me when I was hearing about the way Hormozi talks about brand. So I think most brand owners, if we're honest, we misunderstand what brand is. We think that brand is all about logos and colors and packaging or aesthetics, when in reality, Hormozi frames it in a more simple way. Ultimately, brand is just reduce risk. Reduce risk from your customers that they're going to have a good experience when they buy from you. And if they have a consistently good experience, they begin to trust the outcome. And so that removes friction from the next purchase because they know they're going to have a good experience because they can look back at all the times they've had a good experience in the past. So in e-commerce, this comes from having reliable delivery. It's from having consistent product quality. It's from having strong customer service. And then you're going to be building over time. Every transaction that's good and strong and positive builds more goodwill with your customers. And over time, that goodwill becomes your brand equity. And that's why the strongest e-commerce brands out there can charge higher prices for the same products and convert better than competitors. Because if you've got the right opportunity, which you talked about, if you've got high standards, if you've got systems in place and the brand is actually trusted, there's only one thing left. One thing that ties everything else together from Hormozi's philosophy, which is the fifth lesson, and it's brutally simple.
What's the most
useful thought you could leave to the world.
Figure out what you want, ignore the opinions of others, and do so much volume that it would be unreasonable that you would be unsuccessful.
What a brilliant clip there. It ties everything together. It's all about doing so much volume that you win. And it brings it all together because we can get to the volume part once we know the foundations are right. Because if you run more ads to a bad product, you'll just lose money faster. And if you launch more creatives and you've got no systems in place, you're just going to create more chaos for yourself and your business. So with the lessons today, when the business has the right opportunity, high standards, scalable systems, a trusted brand, then at that point, that's when volume becomes unstoppable. More creatives, more testing, more offers, more iterations, and eventually the maths will start to work in your favor because success at that point stops being random and it becomes inevitable. So Hormozi's playbook for scaling an e-commerce brand really comes down to those 5 ideas. Play the right game. Reject mediocre standards, build systems at scale, make your brand inevitable, and then execute with massive volume. And that is the difference between an e-commerce brand that constantly struggles and one that becomes a real asset. If you enjoyed this video today, let me know and I'll make more of this style. If you want my help to install this into your business with the systems and my team into your business to operate the operations day to day, then reach out to me with the link below. And apart from that, I hope you enjoyed the video today and I'll see you in the next one.